Welcome to Thrive. This is your host, Annu Gaidhu, registered Ayurvedic health practitioner and yoga teacher. I'm thrilled to be sharing who our next guest is. Her name is Katie Stewart. She is a registered holistic nutritionist who helps in specializing women heal from chronic acne. We discuss things as nutrition, how stress plays a role, and also how to identify acne from pimples. And so I hope that you guys enjoy this episode. As always, I want to shout out Greeniche Natural Health for providing this safe space for us to have these conversations. And I hope that you guys enjoy this episode. Hi, welcome, Katie.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us this morning. I was just sharing a little bit about you, and I'm super excited to, dive deep into this topic because I thought acne only just kind of ended in your teenager phase, but let alone here we are again, and I'm 30 now, and it's like still here. And so I just wanted to hear a little bit about you and just your journey, and how did you come about your vision of clearing acne from the inside out?
Absolutely. Yes. So many things to chat about. So first of all, I guess my story is, growing up, I had really clear skin in high school. I was also on the birth control pill. So that's probably another reason why I had really clear skin. And when I was in my early 20s, I decided to start switching my birth control around from like the pill to the IUD. And that's when things really took a turn for the worst. And I started getting really tiny, I like to say it felt like braille across my forehead and temples and cheeks and chin. And I'm 20, I'm like, what is this? I've never had acne before. And tried to go back on the pill, and everything just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And I ended up coming off of the pill because I knew that it was having a really big impact on my skin. And at that time, I was actually working in television. So I was working on camera at a local TV station, interviewing people. And then I was also working behind the scenes at Hockey Night in Canada, which is one of our country's biggest productions. So not only was I interviewing people in my community every day, I was, interacting with bigwigs and NHL alumni and all of these really high to do important people. And I always felt like I was being judged for my breakouts because here I am 21, 22, wanting to start my career and be taken seriously as an adult woman, but I'm looking like a 15-year-old teenager. So when that was happening, I was trying all the things, spent like thousands and thousands on facials and products, wasn't getting me anywhere. And I was just stuck in this rut of not being able to figure out what was going on with my skin. And then at that same time, I actually decided to go back to school to study nutrition. And I remember it was a month into my first nutrition class, I opened up this 5-inch textbook, and there was an entire page on how the birth control affects your body and your skin. And up until that exact moment, I had zero idea that acne was anything except a topical issue. So from there, that really opened up my eyes, and I started delving into all things healing acne from the inside out. So, through trial and error while I was studying to be a nutritionist, I realized that in order to clear up the skin, there was really 3 components of healing the gut, detoxifying the body, and balancing your hormones. So that's really what led me to, do what I do today as an acne nutritionist, because I find that so many women in their 20s, their 30s, and even their 40s are dealing with adult acne. And it really is impacting them on that deep level because everyone expects teens to have acne, but nobody expects, a woman that's 35 to be walking around with cystic acne.
I love that. It just kind of, it's interesting that you worked in television, like you were saying, for 14 years. And I can only imagine just the pressure of when you're in media and, you're on screen, and also the inner confidence that you have when it comes to relating to your skin and your body and how you feel in it. I wonder, my question to you is what is the biggest myth about acne that we don't know about that you learned?
I would say what I quickly mentioned is that acne is not a topical problem. It's an external symptom of a deeper rooted issue. And in our society, we so often think that we have to treat it topically. It's like what cleanser, what cream, what ointment, what can I put on it to get it to go away? But it's actually that symptom. So it's your body telling you, hey, something is wrong inside that you need to fix.
You had mentioned, after your career in television, then you went to nutrition. And so I think that could be interesting if you could explain what was the relationship between diet and acne that you noticed?
So at the time when I was working on camera, I was actually hosting a local food show. So my job was to go out to the best restaurants in the city, try all of their amazing food, cook in the kitchen with a chef. So obviously it was a good day at the office. But I was having a lot of stomach pains. My migraines were at like an all-time high. And that was before, going gluten-free or removing dairy was a thing. And I came across this one chef who was a gluten-free chef. I'm like, what is gluten? And I started learning a little bit more about that. And when I removed that from my diet, my migraines went away and my stomach pain went away. And I was like, oh, well, if that can happen from changing my food, that's why I went back to study nutrition, because I thought I could marry my TV and my nutrition skills together. And then that's when I came across the dietary component with acne, because in our society, we grow up eating this, very pro-inflammatory, processed, highly refined diet, which really sets a perfect stage for your skin. And if we go a little bit deeper into that, it starts to really be impacting your gut lining, it impacts your liver, it impacts your hormones. So I often see that what we grow up eating can have a really big impact on our skin even years later.
That's so true, because when I think about anxiety, and when I was learning about that, they say how your gut is like your second brain, and so when I came to learn about that, I was just so amazed, because your body is so intuitive in sharing with you like what's going on, but we always look externally, like you were saying, to external topical products. And so for you, like what helped? What was the biggest change that you noticed in your nutrition that helped you identify, wow, this is clearing my acne?
So for me in the beginning, I grew up eating, I like to say my mom cooked really healthy homemade meals, but as a teen and when I went to university, I was eating, grilled cheese and fettuccine Alfredo and chicken fingers and McDonald's. Like I did not have, a healthy diet at all. And so for me, when I started removing gluten and the dairy, I was noticing, like I said, my migraines went away, but my skin started to clear up. And that was like, oh, wow, like I can't believe that what I'm eating is making a difference in my skin. But then I got to a point where my skin was pretty clear, but I was still dealing with some lingering breakouts that I didn't want to be dealing with. And that's when I really started to, again, delve into the gut healing and, the microbiome. And for me growing up, I took tons of antibiotics. I took the birth control pill, which all can alter your gut's microbiome. So when I started digging into the gut healing, that I found was a big catapult to get me to where I wanted to be with my skin.
That's interesting, because I noticed that you had also mentioned that you were taking the birth control pill at the very beginning. And, a common, aside from the obvious, to prevent pregnancy,
right.
It was also for me to stabilize your menstrual cycle, to have like a consistent menstrual cycle. And I just wanted to know, like, we're not really taught about the menstrual cycle so much in terms of hormones and how that affects the body, and even acne in school. And so I was wondering if you could share a little bit more about that connection and what you learned.
Sure. Absolutely. And you want to know what? I started taking the pill when I was 15, 16. Like I wasn't even having sex at the time. My skin was clear. My periods were fine, but all my friends took it. And I'm like, oh, well, I should probably take it too, which if I could go back and kick myself, I would. And I took it for another 10 years. And I remember when I was 15, I walked in, I just asked for it. They didn't tell me anything about how it impacts the body. Like, here's 6 boxes, I'll see you in 6 months. And I think it's, one of my things that really infuriates me is that women are never told about the very real and common side effects that can happen. So with the birth control pill, it can actually alter your gut's microbiome, that balance of good and bad bacteria. It overwhelms your liver. And one of the biggest myths surrounding the pill is that it balances your hormones. The birth control pill does not balance your hormones. It simply masks the symptoms that you're experiencing. So if you're going on the pill for really heavy, painful periods, it's just masking those symptoms. And when you come off of it, those issues will still be there. And in so many cases, the issue is much, much worse. Because when you're on the pill, especially saying on a combo pill, you're flooding your body with tons of estrogen. You're suppressing all of the testosterone. So we often see when women come off the pill that they get this estrogen dominance where we have way too much estrogen in the body. Our testosterone has something called a testosterone rebound where that comes raging back, and our period problems are still there. And I know another thing is women are like, oh, well, it regulates my cycles, or some women take the pill where they only get 4 cycles a year. And we have to remember, whether we like to have a period or not, as a woman, it is a very, very important part of our health. It does so much for our bodies, and suppressing that natural rhythm of our bodies is going to be causing a lot of issues, right? And we really just want to be making sure that we're not using the pill as that band-aid for period problems, getting to that root cause of, okay, why do I have super heavy painful periods? Why do I have acne? Because if you just cover it up with a pill, 10 years from now you come off and here we are, we're 30 years old dealing with acne.
Absolutely. It's interesting that you say covering it up with a pill, because I feel like internally we can try to do that, but externally then we have makeup and all these products that just keep on caking on stuff and layering it. I wanted to know, like, just what is the difference, I guess, for anybody who wants to know, from pimples to acne and cystic acne, and what you're an expert in?
Yeah, so I'm an expert in all acne, whether we're dealing with the cystic, which is the deep under the skin. Those are the ones that, are painful, they're swollen, they just feel terrible, and you can't pop. And then of course there's the whiteheads, which are what we all know is the ones that we, the little white spots that we can pop open. So whether you're dealing with whiteheads or you're dealing with cystic acne, it can, if it's chronic where it's happening, all the time, cyclical with your cycle, you've been dealing with it for years, that's really where I come in and I specialize. Because if it's just, you got a random pimple because you didn't wash your face, you're not really dealing with acne. Everybody gets a pimple here and there. But it's when you're dealing with this acne that you've tried everything, it's been months, it's been years, and it's really starting to impact you on that deeper level.
Can you share with us some of your best skincare routine tips for acne for anybody who's listening?
Yeah, I know, because even though, acne is an external, as a symptom, you can still be using topicals to help with your symptom management while you heal internally. We just don't want to be relying on the topicals as our sole way of getting rid of acne, right? Like I've always been a massive skincare buff. Like I got a little collection going on upstairs. It's my me time. So when you're specifically dealing with acne, I find that a lot of acne sufferers are overusing products and using harsh products, because their thought is, if I use all of the things, that's going to be great. When in fact, if you're overusing, you're going to be drying out your skin. The same with using those harsh products like the benzoyl peroxides, tons of acids, all of those things, whether you're overusing or using the drying ingredients, they start to affect the skin barrier. And our skin barrier is what's going to be keeping our skin really healthy, keeping the bacteria out, reducing inflammation. So if we keep consistently drying it out, what happens is that signals for your skin to be like, oh no, like we don't have enough oil, we need to start producing more. So your skin will overproduce sebum, which we know clogs pores and will lead to breakouts. So really making sure that you're not overdoing it, you're using really gentle products. At the bare minimum, I would say if you could be using like a cleanser and a nourishing face cream, like that would be the bare minimum. That way we're removing any of the buildup of dirt and bacteria. And then we're applying a face cream to lock that hydration in. And even if you have oily skin, you still need to be using a face cream, because like I said, it's keeping that sebum at bay. And then from there, of course, you can get really fancy with using the different serums. Some things to look out for ingredient wise that I really love for acne sufferers is hyaluronic acid, because that's going to be helping to keep the hydration and moisture in your skin. In our face creams, if we're looking for ingredients like the shea butter, the cocoa butter, these are going to be really, really lovely for helping to calm down the dryness and the redness and irritation.
What about things like cleansing every day? Like for somebody who feels like their skin is tight and dry, or maybe are experiencing those painful acne, or they're suffering from that. What's your advice on, like the temperature of water they should be using? Is there an effect in that, in terms of like how often you even wash your face, or like how you should be going about it? Scrubs, even if you should be using that?
Yeah, great question. So when it comes to cleansing, ideally morning and night, and you don't, again, have to be using a crazy harsh cleanser, something really gentle. And if you find that you're someone that has very irritated skin, you can of course ask a local esthetician, but we have an esthetician that works with us. And if we're using like a facial cleansing oil to be getting rid of our makeup, that can be very, very gentle. So looking for things that aren't really harsh. And when you're dealing with acne, we still want to exfoliate, but we don't want to be using those mechanical scrubs. And when I say mechanical, it's the one that have the scrubbers in it, whether it's the beads or the little scrubbers. Those can be very irritating to active breakouts, right? If we're scrubbing that into the skin, it leads to a lot of inflammation. And on the other hand, if we are applying a scrub to all of these active breakouts, it can actually start spreading the bacteria around the face. So in order to still get that exfoliating, you want to be looking for a chemical exfoliant. And I know sometimes we get worried about the word chemical, but we're not talking about a toxic ingredient. Chemical just in the way that it's, we'll be working with the AHA or BHA acids to be breaking that down. And again, not overusing it. So if you can be finding like an at-home overnight peel, using that maybe 2 nights a week just to help remove the dead skin, that can be a really great way for acne sufferers to be exfoliating. And it's also going to be helping to reduce that irritation. And using lukewarm water, like we don't want to be using super, super hot water, because again, can be drying out our skin and inflaming it as well.
What about tools, like now there's like a trend for the geisha, using that on your face, or even there's like those electronic scrubbers that you can use for your face. What are your recommendations for that for somebody who has acne on their face?
I would say if we're dealing with the active breakouts, we want to try to avoid using any of like the gua sha or the rollers or the brushes on active areas, because again, that can be spreading and irritating. If you're someone who maybe has a lot of acne on the jawline, you can be using those things on the forehead, the cheeks, and the nose, but we don't want to again be really irritating it with all of these different tools that can be just inflaming it, making it more red and spreading that bacteria.
I noticed how you said like acne in different parts of the face, and also I know people who experience body acne as well. And I wanted to ask you about, like, is there any correlation as to where the acne shows up in your body as a reflection internally of what's going on?
Yeah, this is something that we talk about quite often with our clients. And in traditional Chinese medicine, they have the face map, right? Where, 5,000 years they've been doing this, so they kind of know what they're doing. And while it's not a diagnostic tool, it can be very, very insightful into what's happening. So if you're not familiar with the TCM face map, the traditional Chinese medicine has located spots on the face that are connected to organs and systems inside the body. So for example, women that are experiencing a lot of breakouts on their chin can be related to hormones. If we're dealing with a lot of congestion in between the eyebrows and on the temples, that can be related to your liver. And what's really cool is we've seen this so many times in practice where we have clients come in and they have severe gut infections going on, and their acne is showing up along their forehead. It's showing up along like what I call the mustache line, which will be very intestinal. So it's just really cool to see that there is a lot of truth to really looking at these face maps, and it can be giving you some insight into, okay, well, if I'm having a lot of congestion there, maybe I should be looking at X, Y, and Z.
Can you also have, I noticed you said when you have active breakouts or active acne at that point, does it fluctuate at points? Like what if you're somebody who's experiencing body acne for quite some time, but not on the face? How would you start to address that? Or is it even a concern at that point?
Absolutely. So body acne is just as concerning as facial acne, right? Of course, it's a little easier to hide up, but I have clients who come to me that are like, I have no acne on my face. It's all over my back. And when it comes to body acne, we will often see it can be a combination of, it can be very, very hormonal, especially we see a lot of women with like the shoulder acne, the neck acne can be very hormonal related. And we'll often see if we're dealing with a lot of widespread inflammation. So if we have poor gut health, that gives way for that systemic inflammation to spread, and we'll typically see that start popping up on the body. So if I have someone that comes in, we always start with the gut anyways, because we all know that the gut is the foundation to your health. We can't be detoxifying your body and balancing your hormones if your gut's not in working order, because it is responsible for manufacturing, regulating a lot of your hormones. If we're not having daily bowel movements, our liver's not able to detoxify. So really that foundation of any work that we do with clients always will lead back to the gut. And then of course we will be able to get into liver and hormones and all that fun stuff.
That's, I noticed that you mentioned hormonal as well, and just about being hormonal. What are some signs, I guess, of imbalance that would be red flags for you, whether it's with your clients or just people who are telling you about their experiences that you notice?
Absolutely. So when it comes to knowing if you have hormonal acne, some things that we can look out for is where is it on your face? We often see hormonal acne hanging out on the chin, even the jawline. We can sometimes see higher levels of testosterone popping up on the tops of the cheeks. Then we want to be looking at the timing. Is it cyclical? So is it going along with your cycle? A lot of women see it popping up around ovulation or maybe a few days before their period, and even the types of acne. So more of, you can still be in whiteheads, but more like the deeper cystic acne that you can't pop, the painful ones, can be attributed to hormonal acne. And some other kind of signs that we look out for when we're talking with women is what's going on with your period. Is it normal? Is it heavy? Is it irregular? Do you have issues with weight loss or gain? Do you have insomnia? Is there stress or anxiety? So many of these symptoms that we just accept as being part of a woman isn't really normal. So if we start to see all of these other symptoms popping up alongside the acne, we know hormones are going to be a really, really big play. And of course, balancing those, but we always, again, like I said, make sure the gut is in tip-top shape, because I find that's one of the biggest mistakes women make balancing their hormones is they skip the gut healing component and go right to hormones. So just making sure that you would properly identify it.
What would be your top tip for somebody who wants to start today? Let's just say, whether it's eliminating their products or just kind of having that self-awareness, maybe tracking when they have breakouts, or what would you share as like the best way to start in terms of identifying how you can start to reverse it?
Absolutely, because really the biggest thing that we need to know is what is your specific root cause. Almost always it's a combination of the gut, the liver, and the hormones. Some people may be more gut heavy, some people more hormonal heavy. So first thing I recommend is really starting to get in tune with your body, is noticing these symptoms, even keeping a little journal where you're writing down what you're eating throughout the day. You're writing down your symptoms, whether it's mental, physical, emotional. So things like, did I get bloated after that certain meal? Did my acne get worse this morning? Really taking note of how you are feeling instead of just ignoring these symptoms can start to give a lot of insight into what's happening in your body. And then from there, working to clean up your diet a little bit, focusing on that anti-inflammatory diet, foods that are naturally reducing inflammation in the body. So I would say those are two steps there. And then the third one that we probably focus on absolutely off the top is bowel movements. So I know it's not the most glamorous thing to talk about, but if you are not pooping every single day and having like an easy, smooth poop, then that's where we need to be starting. Because if we're constipated, it's going to be leading to acne. And if we're on the loose side, we're also going to be leading to acne. So I would say tracking what's going on with your body, really getting to know it, focusing on that anti-inflammatory diet, and making sure you have really healthy bowel movements.
Thank you for that, because it sounds like a lot of what you're sharing is self-awareness, really taking your health into your own hands and taking responsibility over it. Because, as somebody who also suffers from acne, it's really a challenge, and it ebbs and flows. Like, it comes in and it comes out. And different environmental factors, I feel, play a role into it. And so my question for you is is there anything that you've noticed which has been like a big factor in contributing to breakouts in acne?
And you want to know what? I love this question because it's something I'm really passionate about, and that is stress, your mindset, and deeper rooted emotional traumas. So I know, especially in the last few years, it's, the mental health has really come to the forefront and addressing any repressed emotions, right? And so often when we're healing, we'll eat the foods and we'll take the supplements, but we forget about this massive part when it comes to the mind. And it is so absolutely critical. I can't tell you how many times I've had clients where, we've progressed them really well, but we get to this spot and they're almost stuck with this, the last little bit of the breakouts. And I'm like, listen, I've been telling you the whole time, we got to look at your stress. We got to look at these emotions going on in your body. And when they start to work through that, their results is just absolutely mind-blowing every time. So if you are somebody where you're dealing with a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, you have mental health issues, yes, we can be improving it by the gut, but in so many cases, there can be deeper rooted traumas that happened in childhood, in our teenage years, adult years, that we've just pushed down into like a dark corner of our soul somewhere, and we're trying not to think about. And it can start coming out as acne in the skin, right? So that's a whole field of study that we could probably spend 2 hours talking about or longer. But I would definitely recommend, do not skip the emotional healing when it comes to your health.
I guess maybe if you were to identify, what would be in priority? Is it the mental health? Is it observing nutrition? Or is it immediately looking after the breakout first with topicals?
I always say that, I know myself and my other nutritionists, we say your breakouts aren't our top concern, even though everyone's like, what do you mean they're not your top concern? They should be. And I'm like, they are. Listen, that's what we're working towards. But in order for us to clear up your skin, we have to recalibrate and rebalance the body. That is our priority right now, is the inner work. So I would like, when we have a client come in, our protocols we put forth is dietary, supplement, and lifestyle, which includes that mindset. And you really need to be working on the three of them cohesively together, because they all go hand in hand. Where if you're cleaning up your diet, this is going to be helping to reduce inflammation, and it's going to be helping to improve your mental health. And when we're dealing with, like, so many acne sufferers have anxiety coupled with their acne, we know that you mentioned like that gut brain skin connection is really vital, and we need to be starting that in the gut. So by working on our diet, that's going to have a lovely domino effect on your mood. It's going to have a domino effect on your mindset. And then on the same side, you want to actively, be working through your stress reduction, setting boundaries in your life, not overworking. So I would say you kind of want to be doing it cohesively. Of course, still doing your symptom management, but having a very cohesive approach would be your best bet.
I love that, because, I love just your holistic approach to it, where you're looking at all aspects of kind of the root cause and not so much just looking at what you can do to prevent at that time. And I really admire your story, because I can empathize that, being in media and being in front, it's like a constant pressure. But then having to slow down, and especially now that we're in a time where it's like instant gratification, you just want to see the result right away. I can only imagine how stressful that is, to just kind of wait out the journey, but the rewards are so much better.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, is in our society with like Instagram, there's filters and there's all these things, and we see these ads where it's like, oh, clear up your skin overnight with this one product. And that's really does a number on women's self-esteem, because they feel like they should be able to clear up their skin overnight or within a week. And so often, when my clients come in, when I work with them, we work with them for 6 months. Like our program is 6 months for a reason, because your skin is not an overnight thing. This is not a sprint, it's a marathon. We have a lot of layers to work through, and the body takes time. So with gut healing, that can sometimes take a minimum of 3 months. Same with your hormones, that can take a minimum of 3 months to start seeing those big shifts in your skin. So really making sure you have the right mindset going into this journey, saying, okay, I'm not going to be seeing results within a week. My body is healing internally, and I will eventually get there. So that's something I really work on with my clients. Is I come in, I'm like, listen, we're not going to see major changes in the next couple of weeks, but the rewards at the end are absolutely amazing. And I just love seeing the transformation for women, because not only is their skin cleared up, but I really love seeing how it changes their life. Like it really, truly gives them their confidence back. And when you have your confidence, you show up better at work, you show up better in your relationships, you're a happier person, you're more social. And it's just very, heartwarming to see them be able to step out and be their best self.
And is there any supplements that you would recommend people to take right now that you would say that are, essential in helping to clear up the body from the inside?
So I love this question as well, because everyone wants to know, what can I take? I saw this, influencer, they recommended that I take DIM or I take omega-3. And I always tell people, you need to be working with a qualified practitioner on your supplements. It is not a one size all blanket approach, because out of our current, we have, I think, 180 active clients right now. Not one of them is taking the exact same thing. We really need to establish what is going on in your body, because if you just start taking, say, DIM, which it can be helpful for a specific hormonal imbalance, but your issue is in your gut, it's not going to be really great, right? So there isn't really one blanket supplement everybody could take. I would highly recommend, instead of going and buying 1,000 supplements, invest your money into a practitioner that knows what they're doing with acne and knows your case, so that way you can get the specific supplements you need. And again, not waste money just like you do on products, trial and erroring 1,000 things.
Absolutely. I always, say the best experience you can have is somebody who has lived experience with what they're talking about. And so I was wondering, I just love that you started your own, you went from media, you started your own business in wellness, Katie Stewart Wellness. And I was wondering if you can share with us a little bit about the Clear Skin Solution.
Sure. So this is how we work with our clients. The Clear Skin Solution is our 6-month acne clearing program. You have myself, we have another nutritionist, an on-staff esthetician. It's really, really built out where for 6 months, we're basically your new BFFs, right? Where we walk you through how to be clearing up your skin. So we have one-on-one consults with you. We have group coaching calls. We have our private client community. We're always in there. We perfectly tailor and customize protocols of what to be eating, what supplements to be taking, lifestyle and mindset practices. And then we check in with you on a weekly basis, a day-to-day basis, and just make sure that you're progressing really well through the protocols we set out for you. We're healing up that body. And, we really watch you like a hawk, because we want you to proceed and succeed so well. So for 6 months, we're your new BFFs, and we help you do all of the things when it comes to healing acne from the inside out, and especially working to figure out what your root cause is, fixing it, and then making sure you have all of that support and accountability along the way. Because I know for so many women, including myself on their acne journey, having that support system in place is sometimes non-existent, because when you go to your doctor, you spend 3 minutes with them, you get a prescription, and they'll say, see you in 6 months. And then you're kind of just left relying on Dr. Google to be your support system. And having that, I find, accountability in place is what really sets it apart from doing it on your own.
Absolutely. Well, people are in great hands with your help. And so I appreciate, you having this conversation with me and sharing technical tips on acne and how we can, support ourselves. But just let us know, where can we find you online? And if you can share your social media handles with us, please.
So you'll find me most often on Instagram at Katie Stewart Wellness. You can find me on my website, katiestewartwellness.com. And then you can find me on Facebook at Katie Stewart too. So that's where you'll find me. And I would be happy to chat and connect with anybody.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time today, Katie.
Thank you.